Hi, this is Laura, and I just wanted to tell you a quick story of a girl that we met about 3 months ago. I didn't actually meet her in the flesh, I just saw her video, so I met her that way, kind of through the eyes of my husband on his covert camera. But I just wanted to tell you her story because I think it's really indicative of a lot of victims that are in Southeast Asia and around the world. This girl, Sarah, we're calling her Sarah, she was sold by her mother to pay off a debt. She was 15. She's from a neighboring country. So she was brought into the country by a series of traffickers, and she landed in a brothel, which is where my husband actually met her, along with a lead investigator who's just this amazing guy, just tireless in his efforts to free victims of sexual slavery. And um, and this investigator that my husband Matt was working with, a pimp called him and said, I have a fresh girl, and so that's kind of the term for a younger girl, a younger prostitute. And so Matt and this investigator went into this brothel, and it was so interesting watching it on video. I always watched his videos after he went on investigative trips, and watching his videos, there are these things in Asia called fish bowls, and it's glass that they set up, and then girls are behind the glass on couches or stools, and the customers are supposed to come in and sit on the other side of the glass and have a beer, have a drink or whatever, and pick what girl. The girls are just kind of sitting there, and they usually have numbers on their shoulders or somewhere, and they're supposed to pick which girl they want for the evening. So this was one of those scenarios. It was called a fishbowl, and it was just so interesting because Sarah really stood out from all the other women that were in this particular place. They brought her in, and in the back of the video, where what I could see, in the back, there's the glass, and then there are all these girls, prostitutes that are, in short skirts, and they are heavily, have a lot of makeup on, and they're sitting there, and then in the forefront of the picture they bring in Sarah, and Sarah is 15, and she's in plain street clothes, and you can tell she's absolutely terrified through the whole video. She's playing with a napkin and just fidgeting. She doesn't know any of the language because she's from a different country, and so she had no idea what was going on around her. But they found out that her virginity had been sold 3 days before they met her for $600 US. And later, when the investigator got Sarah alone and recorded the evidence of her sale and then got her alone, he was able to call a social worker that knew her language, and Sarah was able to communicate to Sarah through this phone call, and was able to tell her that they were not there to hurt her, they were there to rescue her. And she obviously was very confused and didn't know who to trust. And um, the next day, she ended up writing on a 100 baht bill, kind of the equivalent in our language of please rescue me, and ended up handing that to the lead investigator. And when we left Asia, our hearts were just really, really burdened for Sarah because we knew where she was, but we knew that it would take some time to get her out of that environment. And so the lead investigator did an amazing job just speaking with the right authorities and going through the local police channels. And exciting to say that this past week, Sarah was rescued. So she and either 5 to 8 other underage victims were rescued from that brothel. And so just super exciting story for her, and just to think of her life being very, very different now. And it makes me just think of God, and it makes me think of how, Sarah in her environment in the brothel and being abused, she had no idea what was going on behind the scenes on her behalf. She had no idea that this investigator was taking her case before person after person after person, and she had no idea that money was being raised for her rescue. And she didn't know that until the door broke down for her, which is just really neat. And it's just this really clear, good picture of God's work on our behalf, and how when we're in a place of needing rescue, how God is always at work behind the scenes for us and on our behalf. And a lot of times we won't know until the door's broken down and the problem is resolved or the rescue is really tasted. And that might not even happen until much, much later in life or even in the next one. But, um, but our job is to just trust and to hang on and to believe that rescue is coming. And it was just a real exciting victory that rescue came for Sarah in the real practical sense. Um, and that's the ultimate goal of undercover investigations in Asia and around the world is that victims are rescued and that criminals are prosecuted. Thanks for listening to this story. If you have some time, check out theexodusroad.com. Also, our partner Invader, nvader.org, two great organizations that are working specifically in this arena.